excuse me,
Pillsbury.
Here.
Mr. Pillsbury, thank you. Natoli, Johnson, Dickinson, Fargo, Nilo,
I'm here.
Okay, thank you very much, and perhaps we'll have some of the others come in as the meeting starts. I'm going to first of all make an announcement, or in fact a couple of announcements. This meeting of the Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Television Commission is being videotaped in its entirety, and it will be cablecast without interruption on Metro Cable 14, the Government Affairs channel of the Comcast cable system. Today's meeting is going out live, and then it will be repeated Saturday, December 4th at noon on Channel 14. And then for those of you who don't have time for that, there's also VHS copies. They're available for checkout from any of the library branches. And the second part of the announcement is that if you're here and wish to speak to our agenda items, and there are very few of them today, but if you wish to speak, we want you to fill out a speaker identification card, and those are located usually in the, at that back table and or sometimes up here in the front, so whichever spot. And if you'll give that to our staff here, why, then we'll know which items you wish to be heard on. And when you come up to speak to the board, if you would please give us your name before you begin, because we do need to have that for the audio record. These meetings are also taped, audio taped and stored. Okay, with that, why then...
Madam Chair, I have a question. Are those programs available on broadband cable?
Being a troublemaker,
He is a troublemaker at every meeting. There's one on every board, right? Okay. Well, we'll go ahead then and start with item number 1, which is a staff status report on the electronic mail retention policy.
Good afternoon. The staff has 2 action items for you today. One is a policy on electronic mail, and one is to cancel your January meeting. The electronic mail issue is part and parcel of our changing world. That where we're coming from, or where staff is coming from with council's help, is that generally we feel it's important to have a policy rather than not have a policy. And where we are right now is that if I pass one of you on the street and say good morning or hi, and by the way, there's an excellent article in this week's Government Technology magazine on government in the new millennium, and you might want to read it. That's a conversation that's had, and you may or may not follow on it or whatever. And there's no record of that kept generally, unless one of us goes back, dictates a message or writes something out and gives it to the secretary, to the clerk, and says, put this in the file, or you keep it in your own file. If I were to do the same thing via email, on where this commission stands right now, and I emailed you and said, gee, this is an interesting article on broadband, and we were to be hit, and the email isn't destroyed, it's kept somewhere on your machine or our machine or a server somewhere, it can become subject to a Public Records Act request. That's fine. If a Public Records Act request and says, I want to see all documents that you have relative to email, okay, we would produce those. But if you think of the issue that this is a conversation that now becomes part of the public record, that's one aspect of it. And 2 is just the volume of the emails and the effort that is involved to bring those back to a Public Records Act request. And I don't know how you are in your computers or what the policies are for your residential, for your home-based units. If they're deleted by the system automatically because your bucket is full and it dumps emails, or you go through and say, well, these are just casual things and I dump them, and we don't have a policy, then if we were to be hit by a Public Records Act request, it's not known that we've made a decision that emails can be eliminated, deleted from your machine, my machine, other machines on a routine or non-routine basis. So where we are with this bottom line is that we want to establish a policy that emails are not the mechanism for memorizing or memorializing official business of the Cable Commission unless they are referred to the Commission clerk, as would be a formal memo or a or other document committed to writing and said, here, keep this as part of the official record. And that if automatically or consciously some or all emails are deleted from your computers or your server or mine or any of the other staff's, that's okay to do. We're saying that we can delete emails. It is not our policy to keep them forever. So we're saying that an email, unless it's specifically directed to the public record for permanent storage, memorializing official business, is the equivalent of the casual conversation on the street. So the policy recommendation is attached. The city and the county are working on similar policies, although those will be much broader and much more in-depth because they run networks. They have the machinery and may have different policies for different business reasons to want to keep copies of all their emails. The Cable Commission is small, doesn't run its own network. We buy time on other people's networks. So that's a difference why the Cable Commission's policy should be different.
Okay.
Questions?
Discussion among board members or questions for staff?
I have one.
Okay, James?
I agree with you in one aspect. If you were communicating with me through email and we said, hello, how you doing? To me, that would be a casual conversation. But in official capacity, as the executive director of the Cable Commission, if you send something out on email to something about an item on the agenda, to me, that would be same as writing a letter. And I think we should keep track of that as official document.
And that would be an official document. That would be one that would be printed, stored, and kept exactly as a memorandum would have been had it been sent to you on paper. The decision in doing that is usually the senders or the receivers, but it's made at someone's discretion along the way. If I pen you a note and say, gee, here's an interesting article in yesterday's B, that would not necessarily be kept, although Diane keeps pretty much everything.
The other question is, if the city and the county is developing a policy and we're a joint commission of the city and the county, would we want to wait until, why would our policies have to be any different than theirs?
Doesn't have to be. You can clearly wait. I don't know the timelines that they're on, or that I mentioned in part, they will focus in differently. Many big organizations that run networks announce to their employees that we spin off and keep all emails, and that's their policy from a monitoring perspective of their system and networks for appropriate use. That's why my recommendation would be that the commission adopt a policy, and then we look again, if you'd like, when the city and county policies come out. My expectation is that they will be different and won't apply to us. So we'll be back to where we are now if we wait.
Or else, when they do come out, we'll again look at our policy and make them as congruent as possible. But at this point, it seemed if we wait for the city and the county, and I talked to Folsom, they don't have a policy, and I think none of the member jurisdictions, they're all working on policies, but we don't really know the time frames in which they'd finally get a policy to their boards for adoption. And they may all have different policies. So.
I have one, but mine just specifically say that it's Urban League's equipment and all the email messages communicated is considered part of official office record. So.
And that's a fine one until the experience we had last month when you get hit with a Public Records Act request. Yeah. And you have to go back through, as staff, I had to go back through, find the emails that were pertinent to the request that we had, verify that with counsel. And I did that on all of our office machines. I also did it on my home machine, which doesn't belong to the commission. That was my own, and I have 4 home machines. Had it been pushed, I think it worked out that the few emails I had with you, I had copies of on my machines, but it could have been that the Public Records Act request would have extended to your machines to have found emails relative to that pertinent topic. So that policy works for you, but I don't know it's the correct one for the commission, given the experience that we had and the time, effort, and energy it went in to produce what we produced.
And I think the other issue is down in Southern California right now, there's some litigation that's focused on the ability of public agencies to delete emails on a regular basis so that there's agencies in cities and counties in Southern California that have policies that say we delete emails every 90 days or every 60 days or however. And now there are people coming in and saying, and challenging whether or not they can do that, or also challenging if they don't have a policy, but they routinely do it anyway, whether or not that was appropriate or not. So I think the sense of the lawyers and the government community is that you're best off to have a policy that states exactly, how you treat emails and then follow that policy, rather than having no policy and have it be sort of ad hoc, that everybody sort of deletes when they feel like deleting and keeps what they feel like deleting. It's better to have, sort of rules that say, well, if this is something that's going to be kept long-term as a long-term record, this is how we deal with it. And that allows for routine deletions of emails and the like.
Okay, any others from this side? Okay. Oh, we've got two down here, so we'll go right down the line. Go ahead, Rob.
Thanks. The policy before us, it makes sense as far as it goes, but I think we're really only beginning to scratch the surface of what is an immensely complex issue. We're not required to keep correspondence that's sent to us, are we?
We have a general office policy of a 5-year retention in correspondence. We have a filing system that Diane
That's
manages.
of what's generated by the office. You're not required to keep what's sent into the office.
Generally, public agencies keep what's sent into the office as well as what's generated by the office.
Yeah, but that's not part of the Public Records Act, is it?
If you get correspondence and you put it in your files so that it becomes part of the government's files, then it is the same as if it was generated by your office. So when you get a correspondence from any place and it goes into your file, it's there.
Okay, but
and it's treated like a public record.
It seems like the point of preservation, though, is when you actually put it in a file somewhere.
Right.
If you get it and read it and immediately throw it out, you haven't created something that has to be kept. That's kind of the wrinkle I'm getting at.
I would not make as blanket a statement as you're sitting in a governmental office, you're the planning director or Rich, and you get correspondence coming in, that you have the ability just to continue to throw that correspondence, substantive correspondence in the, out, as opposed to retaining that correspondence. I mean, obviously there's a lot of junk mail. I mean, it's just, these are all permutations of the same questions. There's junk mail that doesn't get kept, but there's substantive mail that deals with issues that are retained on a regular
10 or 12
basis.
pounds of mail a day into my office, and most
that
of
all?
it doesn't get kept.
Right.
Because we quickly overwhelm the building, because all of us get a copy of it, and that's actually not preserved.
Right, but I think if you went back, you would look to see that the city has rules on how, or has looked at the policy issue of what you keep and how you keep it, and how it gets retained or not retained. And this is having this be a new medium that we haven't really been dealing with for very long, or at least with the frequency that we're starting to. This is just the start of trying to deal with a medium that's sort of half, sometimes it's like a letter. Sometimes it's like a memo. Sometimes it's like a telephone conversation, and we're just sort of trying to bring a little bit of rhyme and reason to sorting these things and retaining them or not retaining them.
Okay, now when I receive emails at my home, I actually don't download the email into a file. I read it and it disappears. There's never that copy of it made on my machine. Do I have to make copies of it?
No.
Since it's not been created on my machine, I don't have to force it to be created. Is that what you're...
Well, I don't think that you have to. I mean, I think you can get an email, you can treat it, in effect, just like a voicemail, or and you can delete
That was actually my next question.
But
if we save voicemails electronically, do they have to then be saved too? They're actually saved in pretty much the same format as an email. Just the playback mode is different.
See,
You're asking all the same questions that we've all been struggling with, and I think, like the city staff, the county staff, everybody's been struggling with all of these issues.
Well, I was hoping you had answers, because we didn't have any over at the city, right?
Harriet crafted point 4, which is if we get a Public Records Act request or a subpoena, everything is basically subject to release until you go through that process, and there's a whole bunch of other sub-steps. What we're trying to get at is that the day you get the request, you kind of freeze, and you produce what is supposed to be produced according to the law on that day. But if you deleted an email message 2 days before, or a voicemail or anything else that might be subject today, but you deleted 2 days ago, we want everybody in our constituency to know that that's our policy and that's okay.
Okay.
It's knowing that it's getting a request today and then being in trouble because we dumped something on Monday that bothers me.
Okay. I think for one of the big issues we're wrestling through at the city is what to do about voicemail messages, and is that actually a public record where all of them have to be kept or not? Thanks.
Okay, Roger.
That got at the point, I think, that I wanted to make, and I appreciate that, too. This is probably most importantly providing us with guidance as to how we will manage this sort of communication relative, in this case, to the Cable Commission, and which is why we really need it for the other agencies also. It's not as important in private organizations, because the Freedom of Information Act doesn't apply there. It's more important here. And by the way, there's an insidious thing about electronic communication, voicemail included. Anybody who thinks that when they delete something, that it's erased is mistaken. And that's true of voicemail, too. The only thing that happens is there's a marker that points toward that electronic data on whatever the medium is, whether it's a disk or whatever. But the information isn't erased in something else until something else is written over it, which, by the way, creates other questions as to accessing information should somebody want to at a subsequent date, which makes this, I think, this policy all that much more important. We're establishing the fact that this is conversational. If it is intended to be permanent documentation, that it will be indicated as such on the communication itself, and I think it puts the responsibility on the sender to make a hard copy of it also. But I see it as providing guidance to us, but I think we all need to be mindful when we say, do we erase a voicemail message? Well, a voicemail message doesn't disappear just because you erased it necessarily, and I think it's important to realize that, but I agree with the recommendation.
I've often done training sessions on the Public Records Act for staff, for government employees, and I've continuously said, don't, treat email as if it was a letter. I mean, treat email as if it was going to be on the front page of the paper, because you are creating a record. You may be able to delete that record, and it may be fully deleted or partially deleted or resurrectable, but that's exactly, we're trying to create guidance here, but you still need to be mindful of the fact that you are creating a written, a document that can be printed out, that is in a permanent or semi-permanent format.
Okay. Well, as a novice to this whole field and only using that computer this year, that was one of the great discoveries, was the delete key. Because the Palm Pilot only has a certain amount that it can take in, and we get very long attachments to a lot of stuff. And so, but then I discovered that you don't really ever delete it. It just seems to pop somewhere else, but at least it doesn't have to repeat itself on the Palm Pilot, so you have more space. But it's an interesting dilemma, and I agree with you, Rob, that we're going to be dealing with this over and over again. And in Public Records Act, I remember with a great deal of just fascination during the times when we were involved in a lot of litigation. And they literally had a Public Records Act where they came in and they probably took out truckloads of material just because it's there. Everybody was keeping everything, and it was unsorted, and it's a mishmash. And I think what we're trying to do with this policy is at least set some sort of guidelines and policies, and it's going to be a learning experience for all levels of government.
I was right, just back to our litigation days. I don't know how it is in, how it is sometimes in our office, that the trade journals get tucked in a stack, and then every once in a while they get dumped.
They
Sort of
get
like
dusty.
emails. Yeah, they get dusty, and then you get out of when you recycle the things. All those were copied and made part of the litigation discovery file on all the stuff that we went through. I mean, every file that Diane's managed, I mean, everything went, including
It was
the-
just wasteful.
Yeah.
Wasteful energy.
So we try and do a better job of getting rid of those things now. Emails are the same thing. They collect in your computer, and then at some point you sit down and you clean things out. And again, the policy is saying it's okay to clean things out. If it's important, you print it, you route it to the clerk of the commission, and it goes in the files, a permanent record, correspondence from Commissioner so-and-so.
I know when we're doing public hearings at the Board of Supervisors level, and this is just one more complication. All of us get just tons of email on certain issues. We've made hard copies, usually, and then we've put it with our records. So I had no qualms about just deleting a whole bunch of those because we already had hard copy. Because they were very pertinent to the issue at hand. They probably influenced our decision-making, some of them. So it's important, it's important to do that. But there's so much stuff on the email that it's unnecessary to keep. Okay. Do we have a motion then before us? We have no one on that item.
I'll move staff recommendation.
Okay, the resolution implementing the electronic mail retention, second.
Second?
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, it's unanimous of those present. And we've been joined, by the way, by Councilwoman Heather Fargo and by Supervisor Don Natoli. And you've got the resolution on the canceling the January meeting. We have a motion on that?
Second.
You seconded?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll move it.
Moved and seconded. We have no one signed up on that. All those in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, it's unanimous of all present. And then we'll move on to item 2, which is a report from our franchisee, licensee, general status presentations. We only have one person here on that today, and that's Ruth Blank. And welcome, Ruth.
Thank you. I am Ruth Blank, and good afternoon. I just had 2 quick items. The first is we got the resolution for the waiver of universal service requirements so that we can roll out our high-speed data service a couple of weeks ago, and because of the Thanksgiving holiday where I was gone for quite a while, and it was our council. Our council hasn't fully reviewed it yet, so I have no report on that. But I did want to let you know that we're in the middle of I think this is our 3rd or 4th winter campaign that we do with the Sacramento Food Bank. And we do free installation for 4 cans of food. And we're on track to deliver what we did last year, which was about 40,000 pounds of food and $20,000 that comes in through envelopes that we put in customers' bills. And so we're very proud of this. It's something that our employees love doing. Our employees contribute as well. And I think it's very meaningful to the food bank. And one of the things that the food bank has told us that's most meaningful to them is that they end up picking up many volunteers as a result of the awareness that comes through this campaign. So it's not just the food, it's not just the dollars, but it's the awareness that brings in more volunteers. So we're glad to do that.
Is that for the type of installation that would be like for a 2nd or 3rd set, or for initial, or for all of that?
It's generally for initial, but I think that we're pretty flexible on
Okay.
second sets and so forth.
Okay, so if someone did phone you, then they would have their 4 cans and get a 2nd or 3rd installation. Okay, that would be great if they're looking forward to doing that.
I'm not the one that wrote this campaign, so
You better
I
find
don't
out
want
for
to
sure,
misspeak
Ruth.
myself.
That's right.
It's pretty extensive, so I think it applies to additional outlets as well.
Are there any questions for Ruth? My goodness, you're getting off very easily. It's December, right?
It's the
Thank
holidays.
you. It's the holiday season. We have none of our other licensees here today signed up. So we'll go on to the grantee status reports, and I notice we've allotted 10 minutes each for each of the grantees, and we have we have 3 signed up. So we're going to start with you, Ron Cooper. You're the first one on the list. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Happy holidays. I'm Ron Cooper, Executive Director of Access Sacramento. And there are just a few items that I wanted to touch base with and update today. I left with you as a little packet a couple of items. One is a yellow documented press release, and I want to bring that to your attention because it does impact in terms of city and county as well. The Y2K is now, less than a month away, and we're going to be hosting a live wire special call-in show next Wednesday at 6, hosted by Sue Pearson Atkinson, who also, through other associations, was involved with the creation of a similar, what is the city of Sacramento doing on Y2K and what is the county of Sacramento doing on Y2K. Those are 2 different programs. So what we're going to do is kick it off with a live call-in show, immediately followed by the city and county programs as well. I'm sure that'll run on the other grantee channels, but hopefully in the month of December all the questions will be resolved and no crises will occur. On another matter, your executive director and I are in discussion on an issue in terms of impact of the revised grant allocation timeline, and so we're having an exchange of information, and we'll keep you updated on that dialogue as it ensues. I also wanted to report some great news on our involvement here in Sacramento with the Alliance for Community Media, especially the Western region. In the last weekend of October in Palo Alto was the host city this year. There was a great conference held of folks who belong to the public education, government, access community, board members, staff members, volunteer producers, and we shot some video, and we will show that video now. And why this is important is that the city of Sacramento was designated as the October 2000 site of this same conference. So we'll be seeing this type of expertise here in our community in October of 2000. So if we could take a look at that tape.
Young people who are so excited about the chance and the possibilities when they see examples of the end result.
Education is step 1 in organizing on any issue. You just have to give people the information, the alternative information that isn't out there. And public access has been one of the most effective ways of doing that for us.
We're really excited here at the Western Regional Conference for the Alliance for Community Media. We just had a session in which we could break up into different kinds of groups, and we created our own group.
Some 1 million hours of original programming made every year, and that compares to more than all of the combined creative efforts of all the broadcast and cable companies. So it's a powerful force.
I was so pleased to see that the Spanish language spontaneous combustion group just broke out and came up with all sorts of good ideas and action items to carry out.
This has been a great conference. Obviously, the local planning committee really did a great job in organizing the workshops and speakers and the events. I think this year's theme of the conference, Deliver the Message, for the first year, I think, seriously started addressing the merging of technologies and incorporating the internet as a very viable delivery system of messages, an important way of keeping in touch with each other in between conferences, of mobilizing for political action, and envisioning the day in which video streaming on the net may in fact be an alternative way of delivering access type of programming. And that last shot was of the 3 Western Access Video Excellence Awards that were earned this year. And I want to speak briefly about those 3 WAVE winners because we're very proud of them. One of the programs produced by Bob Wilson, directed by Terrence Easter, a public forum, a question of public safety, had Commissioner James Shelby as one of the guests, had to deal with issues of how police interact with citizenry and what some of those concerns might be. And that won and the best of the region, which is 6 Western states, in the public forum category. Also very proud of a special award. Only 2 such awards are given each year at this conference for overall excellence to 2 different organizations. One was the City Channel of the City and County of San Francisco. They won the overall excellence category. And the second award was to Access Sacramento for overall excellence in public access programming. So we appreciate that honor and wanted to share that with those of you who make the difference in terms of our delivering such services and being recognized in that way. As I mentioned before, in October 2000, the last weekend of the month, just before Halloween, we will host this conference, bringing hundreds of these experts to our community. We're working together with the ED Consortium, with your staff, and with other interested organizations and groups to make that a very worthwhile conference. I think it'll be an excellent opportunity to address traditional PEG access cable issues, but as I mentioned on the tape, to look at the way the internet access issues are being addressed and new delivery systems and new challenges for all of us. So hopefully with that expertise on board here in town, we'll see many familiar faces there, along with the rest of us learning these new trends. One final thing, on the newsletter that I passed out to you, you'll see an invitation. I wanted to extend that personally to each of you. Please do consider yourself invited to our Millennium Merriment at the Metro. If you'll notice, it falls between Christmas and New Year's on a Wednesday evening. But please do, if you'd like to come and attend. It's going to be a nice, quiet dinner, only about 60. It's a small place. But if you'd like to join us, please call our offices and make a reservation. Let me conclude my comments with the 3rd WAVE Award winner. The gentleman who produced and directed the program is here as well. In the category of Best Performing Arts, which is a very, very competitive category. One of our volunteers, Jerry Johns, is here. The Galena Street East Presents the River City Review of '99 was awarded the Best in the West Award for the Best Performing Arts video done by a volunteer. So if you don't mind, or if you don't have any questions of me, I'll turn it over to Jerry to make some comments about that experience. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Jerry Johns, you are signed up.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to address the board today. My name is Jerry Johns. I work for, or don't work for, basically volunteer for Galena Street East, which is a nonprofit organization here in Sacramento. I've been in Sacramento for about 25 years. The purpose of this group is to promote excellence in young people in the Sacramento area through the use of the performing arts. And the kids that are in the group are ranged from age of about 5 years old to about 19 years old. There are about 100 in the group currently. They basically are Sacramento's young performing ambassadors. They perform at convention centers here in Sacramento. They perform at rest homes here in the city. They go on tours each year. They've gone literally around the world in their tours. They've been to Japan, Greece, France, Germany, Hawaii several times. They've been to tour the talent on cruise shows in the Mexican Caribbean area. They've been invited back now twice to the Washington, D.C. shows to be in the 4th of July parade at the Washington, D.C., perform for Congress. They're very talented, very good, but bunch of kids. I'm just the dad. I'm a dad that does video stuff, and that's how I got to help them in doing this stuff. My son's been in the program. He's now in college. He has 3 majors, 2 of them in performing arts, 1 in chemistry. He's now a senior, probably a super senior pretty soon. But there's been a very, very interesting symbiotic relationship developed between Galena Street East and Access Sacramento. We have kids with lots of talent we want to showcase in the community, get the show out to a lot of people. A very good message that Galena sends is no tobacco, no drugs, no alcohol. And Access Sacramento is looking for things to showcase. So we've been able to develop with them over the last several years this symbiotic relationship. We do 2 big shows each year. One show is the show that you saw or was given the award for, which is the River City Review Show, which is basically a big advertisement for the city of Sacramento and the county as well. We talk about River City, how it was developed, what the diversity of the culture, the people here in the city, and they sing and dance to this for 2 hours, and they do a wonderful job at it. The other show is a Christmas show that we're doing in a week. Starts next Friday, the 11th, or actually Thursday and Friday. Friday shows Friday and Saturday night, and a matinee on Saturday. And again, another 2-hour show gets us all in the holiday spirit, talks about the diversity of the way we celebrate the holidays here in December for all of us in Sacramento area. People that benefit from this, of course, are the kids, of the symbiotic relationship. The kids benefit because they get to see themselves on TV. Most of these kids serve in the program and never get to see the show because they're in the show. And now they get to see themselves on TV. Their friends see them on TV. It develops a lot of personal self-esteem, and it's a great program and effort that we do here. And we really appreciate your support in both Access Sacramento and in the past. Galena has gotten SMAC grants to help produce its activities. But the community also benefits. So we get to see a large amount of shows. They're very fun to watch. They send a very good message to the community that gets us in the holiday spirit. And it basically, like I mentioned before, is a big, good advertisement for the city of Sacramento, what it can do in the performing art area and for the community at large. There are some concerns I have, and basically I haven't talked to Ron about this, he'll probably hit me later, but the equipment at Access is nice equipment, but it's getting old. It's the same equipment I saw there 10 years ago. And you need to continue to invest in this important facility you guys have. You developed a wonderful staff here at Access, and what I urge you to do is continue to invest in the infrastructure of Access Sacramento. We had a camera go out when we started the shoot. The first 5 minutes of the production, I've lost my main camera. A short in the cable. The engineer ran up quickly, magically somehow fixed it, thank goodness, so we were able to continue the show and the videotaping of the show. But these kind of things will happen. It's like having an old car. They become unreliable after a while, and you need to invest in new things. So I encourage you guys to continue to invest in the infrastructure of Access Sacramento. It's important for all of us. I want to thank Ron for all his efforts in helping us through the hard times and getting things done that we need to get done technically, and also getting the staff to help us volunteer to help with these shoots. The Access Sacramento staff is a wonderful set of people, very friendly, very techy. They know this stuff well. They're very helpful. They help us, and I only get to do this like twice a year, so for me it's like a relearning experience. It's like trying to run your VCR times 10. So it's difficult for just us plain folks to make this stuff work, but they are very helpful in that. And I want to thank you guys for your support of Access Sacramento, allowing the community to have a good face here in Sacramento. And this is one really good way to do that, both through Galena and through Access. And to show our appreciation, we do have our Christmas show coming up, and I have some tickets I'd like to give to you guys for complimentary tickets to come to the show. It's a good way to get in the holiday spirit. If you all can't use them, give them to your friends. Bring your friends. It's a great family show. It's a lot of fun, and I thank you very much for the time.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Just one comment, and I think that we do expect each grantee in their grant to husband their monies for capital improvements. So, it's up to Access's board of directors to manage their budget so that they're going to be investing in new equipment in the future, not up to the commission. So.
Madam Chair, on the last item, I don't know if everybody here has seen the Galena Street group.
I have. They're very good.
But they are superb.
Outstanding.
Very, very talented kids.
Outstanding.
Yeah. Oh, we need 2 each, I guess. Yeah. Did you take two? I think you're supposed to take two each. I think so. I think that's what it comes out.
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, there's probably enough for two each, so. Okay, we next have Liz Rhodes.
Hi, I'm Liz
how are you,
Rhodes,
Liz?
Executive Director of the Sacramento Educational Cable Consortium. We are in the process of winding down our fall semester, and that's exactly how we feel, I'll tell you.
Not directed at you.
That's okay.
It's that young
we're
daughter
there.
of his. She keeps him moving.
As my 2-year-old.
The 2-year-old. She's
Well,
got
but
more
we
energy.
are gearing up for the next semester, and we've got a lot of classes coming up, and appreciate the time that we borrow on your channel overnight, because we're putting a lot of programs, a lot of classes in there, and then also the time that we get on Access Sacramento. It's proved to be very, very valuable to us, and we're constantly looking for more time, so we want to be able to utilize those channels to the best of all of our abilities. What I really wanted to do today, though, rather than talk about our classes, share a couple of really exciting things that we have going on outside of our classes, our other services. I gave you a copy of the November guide and also December guide. And,
Good.
In the December guide, I want you to take a look at that, if you would, real quickly. There's
Mars.
some real exciting things happening with Mars now. One of the things in here that really caught me is, can you imagine throwing your computer off a 50-story building and expecting it to work? That's what NASA's doing. And to be able to share these things with our students is absolutely phenomenal. And now our partnership with the Challenger Center has even expanded those capabilities. And it's nice that we're being able to pull all of this together in Sacramento. Because of the material that's coming across the internet that we're able to share on our channels via NASA Select. It's been quite fantastic. And in case you didn't know, the Challenger Center has been a recipient of some major funding, in which a big portion of it is being spent to enhance the facility out there. If you've never flown one of their flights, you really need to do that.
Make you feel good and incompetent. That's what it'll do.
But then to watch the children
The children
do
do great. It's the
it's
adults.
phenomenal. Yeah. So, and they have they're getting a new program out there, a new Mars program. So it's all tying together very nicely, and we're really pleased to be a part of that. Another big project that we are just winding up that is really near and dear to all of us here in Sacramento is a project that we've been doing with the Department of Education and a foundation dealing with after-school programs. You know, in Sacramento there are quite a few after-school programs for our children that, well, I have a clip that I'm going to show you that Delane Easton explains very well what this is all about. The encouraging thing for us and the exciting part of this program for us is that there was a training, and there's a lot of state money and a lot of federal money, and it's going to grow next year. And we think it's really important to share the wealth of information that's out there for people who have been successful in doing these programs. So what we did with the Department of Ed was to videotape some of these experts as they came into town so that we could share that information in the future. And it was very enlightening. Not only for the grant recipients, and we have some major grant recipients here in Sacramento, especially in Sacramento City Unified School District and in the Elk Grove District, but our goal behind this was to motivate some of the other schools to go after some of that money and to create similar programs. So if we could roll that tape, I think that the tape says it better than I could. And there's two sections to that. So if we roll that tape now and watch two real quick portions.
Okay. Working.
It's there, as long as there's audio.
Hello. The film you're about to see provides some excerpts from some workshops that we conducted as part of the Safe Neighborhoods and After School Partnership Program. We hope you'll have a chance to observe this film and gather some insights from it about why we think this program is so important. You know, all over California, uptown and downtown, and urban and in rural and suburban areas, our children are going home to empty houses. We think that there's a far better idea, and that is to keep our schools open after school and to give our children a chance to not only strengthen their academic skills, which in an era where we're ending social promotion is more important than ever before, but in fact to also give them a safe haven. Think about it. The worst crime period during the day is from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. I'm sad to say that's also the period when most teen pregnancies occur. So to the extent that we find wonderful ways of opening our schools and engaging our students, we'll help to keep them safe, we'll help them to keep them engaged, and we'll help build better citizens for tomorrow. I think the after-school programs are the next big idea for us all to get behind in this state. I dream of a day when every child will have a chance to remain in a developmental program after school, a program where they can develop their art or music or where they can learn to read and write. Opportunity for them to learn the great science concepts or to practice up on their mathematical skills. For them to be engaged in drama or for them to be involved in their garden project. Whatever it is, we have to find more and better ways to make sure our children are safe and are, in fact, cared for after school. Thanks for your part in making that happen for the state of California. Good luck.
And this next section, just a real quick thing on one of the...
How many of you in here are a little bit frightened about what's going on right now yourself? Be honest. Don't be. Don't be. Because I tell you what, if you go into it with the attitude that you're going to do the best you can and have a good time while you're doing it, trust me, it's going to be okay. As long as you keep one thing in your mind. Why are we doing this? For the kids. And that sounds so simple, folks, but I spend a whole lot of time on the road talking to people. I've done this for the last 10 years. And that's the biggest thing that I hear going on and on and on about evaluation and all this other is, let's refocus on why are we doing this? And what is the outcome we want from it? Are we wanting to make straight-A students, or are we wanting to make prudent and reasonable people who want to enjoy their lives, lifelong learners? That's my goal, is to make kids learn to love learning.
So what we hope to do with this is just help out in terms of getting the word out there. And believe it or not, there are a lot of people who are starting these programs that are scared, that, are moving into this a little apprehensively. But we know that there's going to be more money. It's just there for the asking, for the taking, and we need motivated people and, motivated teachers, motivated community members. So our idea is just to help out a little bit with promotion of these ideas and getting some of this material down on tape.
Okay, thank you very much. That moves us on to item number 4, the public opportunity to discuss matters not on this agenda. We have no one signed up. So that moves us to item number 5. This is a closed executive session, public employee performance evaluation, our executive director. And we could have that upstairs.
Right, right, and there won't be an announcement or anything afterwards.
No, there won't be an announcement afterwards, so do we officially...
So we could adjourn... So
we could recess and adjourn afterwards?
You could recess and adjourn at the end, but we would not come back to, to an open video section.
Okay, thank you. With that understanding, then, we are recessed, and we will adjourn afterwards, but not come back into public session. So we will be going up to the upstairs blue room?
Green room.
I'm sorry, green room.
Green room. Green room today. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.